Section 3.3 introduces logarithmic functions. So a logarithmic function is the inverse function of an exponential function. So if we look at an exponential function where b is greater than 1. So this domain and range is true whether b is greater than 1 or between 0 and 1, right? But I'm actually going to sketch where b is greater than 1. So we saw that was a growth function, right? And it crossed the y-axis at 0, 1. Log base b of y is the inverse function of that function. So that means we saw with inverses, this graph should be reflected over the line y equals x, and all the x and y values should switch places. So this point that is 0, 1 on this graph should be at 1, 0 on this graph. The horizontal asymptote that exists at y equals 0 should now become a vertical asymptote at x equals 0. So I can actually sketch a pretty accurate picture of this graph by just knowing how inverses behave graphically. So now we have log base b of x equals y. So let's look at how we would apply logs in an example to use algebra. So remember that other property of logs is that if you put a function inside of its own inverse, x should come out, or the expression inside should come out. So we want to find all the solutions to the equation e to the 4x minus 1 equals 6. So one thing to note about logs is there are two special ones. If we write just log of x, well, that is the same thing as saying log base 10 of x. So the 10 is implied here. If we write natural log of x, that is log base e of x. So the natural log, the base e is implied. So if I want to get this expression out of the exponent, I can do that by plugging this into its inverse, because it will wipe out the e and you will just be left with what's left up here. So I'm going to take the natural log of both sides, because if I do it to one side, it's only legal if I do it to the other. And I chose natural log because this was base e. So on the left side, I get 4x minus 1, and on the right side, I'm just stuck with natural log of 6. That's just a number. And now I'm just going to do algebra to solve for x. So 4x is the natural log of 6 plus 1, and x is the natural log of 6 plus 1 divided by 4.